Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Listing Agent Podcast. Your host, Keith Hernandez. I've got Dr. Elisa Magil, who we're going to be talking about momentum, energy, and endurance. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Listing Agent Podcast. Your host, Keith Hernandez, with the Angel and Patty team. I've got Dr. Elisa Magil, who is a behavioral scientist, and she's going to give us some information about what she does today. Nice. So, Elise, tell us who you are, what you do, and what do you like for dinner?
What would I like for dinner? Oh my gosh, how long do we have? Basically I just fell in love with understanding people.
Okay.
And really, really passionate about helping them to believe in themselves so that they can identify their true genius, their passions, and stick with whatever it is to get them there. So that's kind of a little bit of a nutshell version of who I am in business and so forth.
Okay.
What I love for dinner is, anything healthy and fun and happy. That salads and and chicken and fish and things that are good for you. Because I find sometimes when I eat something heavy, I want to go to bed right away, and that's not what I want to do at dinner time.
And what you eat and put in your body also contributes to your self-wellness, correct?
It does. I mean, mornings are my favorite time because basically I make my shake and it's all healthy ingredients and a whole bunch of power greens I put in there and some almond butter and everything. And I find that when I eat that way and I drink a lot of water, when I wake up and I'm out and I'm running around, I am energized and I'm ready for the day. So I know this was a little off topic of the dinner was probably a little joke, but it does really matter what you eat because if your body is so busy digesting, it's not up here where you need it to be sometimes, thinking and being creative and so forth. So
that's a great fun fact. Matter. All ties in together at the end of the day.
It really does.
So, okay. So let me ask you this question. So how did you get into the business that you're in? What made you, what sparked one day and said, this is what I want to do?
That's a really good question. And a couple decades ago, I decided to go back to college, and retool. And I went to school for my PhD as in industrial organizational psychology. And some of you may know what that is. If you don't, basically, in a nutshell, it's the human side of business.
Okay.
So it's understanding the person, how they are motivated in the workplace, how you can align people together for team synergy, how can you keep people on track, so productivity, performance, engagement, employee engagement is huge these days, and also really keeping people enduring in what it is they're doing, something that they can just feel a part of as well. So I started going to school for that, and then I took all the coursework as well for clinical psychology because I was so intrigued with the person.
Okay.
And at the time, my son was also having problems in school. He was diagnosed with ADHD. So then I started to study about ADHD, which is, there's so many different definitions of ADHD, but it's attention deficit with hyperactivity disorder. And if you hear it with just ADD, it's attention deficit disorder. And I started looking at it more as a way of being versus a disorder.
Okay.
And if you can understand the person enough to see what sparks their soul, what it is that excites them, and how they learn and interact in the world around them, then you have such a better chance of helping them identify their true genius and then believing in themselves enough to know that they don't have to conform to this way of learning, to working and interacting, but they identify the way they interact, learn, and so forth in the world, and have a much better chance of being successful at it. So honestly, Keith, this is what really sparked my passion when I started going to school and retooling, and I went all into that direction of learning about psychology, individual differences, studying ADD, and the individual, how we're motivated and learning and all of that. my first book that I published is called Harness Your Entrepreneurial ADD, because I realized that some of these symptoms, even if a person isn't clinically diagnosed ADHD or ADD, that they can exhibit symptoms of it. So that's what inspired me to write my book, Harness Your Entrepreneurial ADD, because it's not a bad thing if you recognize how you can use it to your benefit and how you can harness that and move it in the right direction to become supercharged and excited and build that momentum, energy for true endurance in life and business.
Sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Without giving away what your whole book is about, because I know you always want to sell it, but what are some key things that in your book that you talk about that help people with this way of living?
It's really funny, and I have to say, you know, how can I phrase this? We are our own best teacher, basically, if we can laugh at ourselves and identify when we make mistakes, which is what I did, because one day I was sitting there at I have a home office, and I'm, typing, and the minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed, I'm working. Even ate at my desk, and I didn't move, basically, except for things I had to move for. And at the end of the day, I sat there and I looked at the crumbs around me and I went, what the heck did I get done? I couldn't identify. I was so busy, but it wasn't towards a goal that I could say I accomplished this. It was several little things that I was doing. And then as an entrepreneur, I mean, this happens all the time. I've been coaching and training entrepreneurs for decades. And I started realizing one day that when we come up with an idea and we're excited about it, and this can happen in any business. I mean, real estate, you want to build endeavors, you want to really strengthen the way you do business. In any other business, it's the same philosophy, basically. But if you're working towards something and you're excited about it, it's that momentum, that excitement that keeps you moving forward, right?
Right.
But Peter Drucker, who is, some call him the father of modern management, he had a quote that said, sooner or later, everything digresses into work. And how does it feel when the work starts? And you're not sure what you need to do. And you're not sure who to bring on board to help you with that. And you're not sure if it's going to be successful, or you hear your first no, right? So when that happens, we might think, I'm not doing the right thing. And so then we switch and we go in a different direction and we start another thing, right? And then that gets us excited.
Yeah.
Because that's fun again. And we're working on that. And we're like, oh, this is going to be the best idea. So that story said, getting back to your question, I sat there one day and I came up with the most amazing idea. And I'm thinking, this is a gold mine. This is amazing, right? And I went to go write it down in my notebook. And I had like a ton of notebooks that I wrote things in, because I'm an idea generator. I love coming up with ideas. I'm a puzzle piece person. I see connections that most people don't see. My husband tells me, don't tell me the end of the movie, because usually I go, I put all these things together and I predict the end, and I'm right most of the time. So now he forbids me from telling him the ending of the movie, because ruins it for him. But I did that. I was and pulled out a notebook and I started writing down this amazing idea I thought I had for the first time. And I realized, I went flipping through that notebook and I looked a year earlier. What do you think I found?
Your ideas.
That same exact idea. That was my aha moment. And I went, I'm wasting my time. I am not implementing. And the funny thing, Keith, is I had a doctorate. I had a master's, already and I earned an MBA later to keep my skills updated. But I had the education. I knew how to coach and train others on these principles, and I was successful at that. What I failed to do was do it for myself.
Oh, I see.
So that was, again, my aha, that I am not implementing what I'm teaching everyone else. That you hear dentists have their families have cavities, plumbers, their houses leak. I was struggling. it was then that I put together a program. One of my key programs is called Distraction to Action.
Okay.
And in that, I share some of these tips in the book as well, getting back to that question as well. But it all comes down to, I'd say, 3 key things, which would be constancy.
Okay.
Right? Now, what is constant in our life? What is it that is not going to change? And that could be certain things about our physical and emotional state in the moment and so forth, how we're dealing with things. It can be where we live. It could be the business we chose and so forth. It could be a variety of things, but there's certain things that aren't going to change, right? And then from there, you go to the second element, which is really control. What is it we can control and what can't we control? And if we can identify within what's consistent, what kind of changes might come in that we can't control, then we can maybe learn how to let go of those things that we have no control over. And then the things we do have control over, then we can come up with a game plan of how to handle those, which leads to the third C, which is basically the cure. And the cure is, what is our plan of action to address these things so that we can move from the state of being? Because when you think about the first one, consistency or constancy, basically, there is no such thing really, because the only thing constant is change, right? But in the moment, there's certain things that are constant. So we can look at where are we at now, what's changing that I can control, and then from there, okay, how can I make a plan to set this up and be successful? And some of that basically is being very aware of who we are as a person, right? Our tendencies, our triggers, our emotional triggers, what it is that might send us into the spin cycle. And I don't know about you, but I've been there, and so many of the people that I've coached have been there, where you just have a day and you're just done. You say, I just want to go sit on that couch, turn on my favorite movie, and just let go and forget everything because I'm done for the day. I just can't deal with it anymore.
I think we've all had those days for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's identifying that trigger and coming up with plans. So not that you don't ever feel that, because we're human, we're going to feel that, but staying in that spot less than we would otherwise, and learning how to get ourselves out of it so that we don't have that downtime for too long.
So you've coached a lot of entrepreneurs. You've seen a lot of people's different mindsets. You've seen a lot of people's, different thinking, and how some of them come back, some of them don't. What do you feel is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of these people, they can see the problem, you probably teach them, but they don't follow through?
Yeah, and I'm not laughing at the question. I'm laughing at it's a human tendency, right? This is so interesting. Motivational theory, one of the motivational theories says that we are more motivated to avoid pain than we are to pursue pleasure.
Really?
So that means even though you have your big picture goal and you say, oh, I'm going to be X, Y, and Z in my business and I can see it. If the pain of getting there, the no's, the people that you have to go out and meet, the people, what is it personally you have to fight against? Is it your perception of money? Is money bad, subconsciously to you? Have you been raised to think that you're supposed to be a giver so much that you forget to take care of yourself as well, which is one thing that sends us into overwhelm and burnout if we don't take care of what we need to do to stay healthy and happy and productive and so forth. But there's so many different things that cause us to want to fight against the work that we need to do to get there. So I think one of the biggest reasons is, even if we need a clear vision, we need a strategy, we need action steps. I have a program, it's my VSA workshop, Vision, Strategy, and Action, for this very reason. If we have a clear vision, even if we've gotten through that step and we're crystal clear, and we have a strategy, but we don't have strategy and steps set up within that strategy to keep us on track when the shake hits the fan. I was trying to think of a better way to say it. When things happen, right? to endure those ups and downs, then we get derailed. And if we don't recognize those behaviors that we have as an individual that we can control and change, then we're going to be derailed. And then we second guess ourselves and think, maybe I shouldn't be in this business. Maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe I shouldn't do that. And you may already be familiar with the book. Oh gosh, was it Jim Collins that wrote this one? I'm kind of embarrassed now. I can't remember which book it was. Think and Grow Rich, I think it was.
Think and Grow Rich, yes.
But in it, they talked about 3 feet from gold. And the amazing story is Darby, he was, he bought this gold mine. He had investors and everybody. And he was so excited. They started becoming profitable. And they are, mining this gold vein. And what happened is the gold vein ended. And they thought, they're searching around. They're like, oh, what the gold vein's gone. And so basically, long story short, and I'm summarizing from memory, they sold it to a gentleman for hardly anything and gave him all the equipment. And what that gentleman did was brought in an expert, a geological expert that understood geology. And the man came in and he said, well, with the earthquakes and shifting and all of that, your vein of gold is going to be found 3 feet in this 3 to 4 feet in this direction. And that's what happened. They found the vein of gold again. So there's multiple points here. Number one, sometimes things happen unexpectedly and we're on a roll, but you might be giving up right before you're super successful. Point number 2, hire expert help if you're stuck. If you're so stuck you're ready to give up, don't give up. Think about all that wasted time and energy and so forth. If you're 3 feet from gold and you can get there, don't give up. Hire an expert to help you through it. And then number 3, don't give up again. Because Darby, even though he looked and he found out, he could be kicking himself and, there's so many things he could have done when he found out that the man he sold it to for hardly anything now found the gold again and was highly successful. But instead, he took what he learned and he built a brand new business. I think it was in insurance sales and things like that, but he was one of the top sales professionals in his field, in his new chosen field. So there's so many lessons we can learn by seeing what others did wrong and how they learned how to move past it. Which is why I have distraction to action, because I learned the hard way and I put it into steps and so forth. But not giving up is key.
So if you had to say something motivational, because I mean, I know, do you follow real estate?
A little bit.
A little bit. Well, you were that our economy went crazy last year, right? And a lot of, entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners lost their business. It kind of tanked, and a lot of realtors dropped out of the business.
Yes.
What would you have to say to those people, or what would you have to say to people who are struggling right now? What would you say to motivate them?
There was a saying, I actually heard it on a Beachbody video because I do my exercises in the morning with Beachbody videos. But it was, I think, Megan Davies in her MBFA program, and she said, find beauty in the struggle. And I love that because there is, and from my days of cross country and track in high school, no pain, no gain, right? And it's true. You're not going to get to a higher state of being unless you get through the struggle. And I talk about this in my book with, I call the analogy I use is running through the spider webs. I used to live in Whittier, and we had trees all around our home, and there were spider webs everywhere. And you're not going to walk through spider webs. So I don't understand why sometimes in these movies, do you ever see somebody just reach their hand in and it's like a dark hole and they're like just doing this, looking for the key, and there's spider webs everywhere. I'm like, nobody does that. Nobody calmly wipes the spider webs away. You're like, you're doing this, you're doing the spider dance, and you're trying to get through That's what we need to do when the shake hits the fan. Get through the spider webs as quickly as you can and have a path. Know where you're going. Don't run into the spider. Run into the house and get away from it. So, it is about being able to identify ahead of time what our triggers are. And not on top of that, this leads me to the momentum, energy, and endurance piece of it. Knowing what it is that sparks our soul. What is it that gets us excited again? And put that in your business or put it in your life. So for me, I love being active. I used to run cross country and track in high school. I did triathlons. I was always doing biking. I did all these different things, running. I didn't think I could run anymore because I had major foot surgeries and some back injuries and all of that. And then I realized I could run again. This is the second year of running. So I ran 3 half marathons last year, ran them, but I got through them. And I have a marathon planned in December. And I'm going to do a business training around that as well.
Oh, nice.
Really excited because I love being outside. And I'm doing this with my peeps, my clients. If you love being active and outdoors and you want to do some self-development at the same time, connect with me because this is something I love doing. And, I've learned how to navigate through those ups and downs in a way to where, you're going to feel the down. You're going to get discouraged. Things are going to happen to the industry. Remember 2008, with all of that. So, yeah, I do follow the industry with those types of ups and downs and so forth. It's going to come back up. And even if it doesn't come up, you find other ways to work within your industry because those people, adapt. Yes, they still need homes. They still want to sell. They still want to buy. Things are still going to be happening. So how do you find the new things that people are using to do the same business? So it may be adjusting the way that you're doing business and being open to being flexible with, we've got AI coming up. We have all these technological changes and adjustments. There's social media. What do we need to get uncomfortable with to stay comfortable in what it is we're doing?
That's a great way of putting it. And I kind of like how you brought that all up. It sounds like you really know how to bring the excitement in people.
I love that.
And you're bringing the excitement out in me right now.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that's what just sparks my soul, really, is just helping somebody to see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And COVID did that, I think, with a lot of people with being shut in and all the things. And that's where I kind of did a little redesign. My business name was Envision This, and I still use that, but it's Endurance Business Builders now because there's that piece that we've got to find to not just build momentum and energy, but to endure everything that comes our way.
What's a little tip or that you can give starting out entrepreneurs to find that spark? Because I feel like, a lot with people, Gen Zs, millennials, everyone barely get into the workforce. They don't know what they want to do. Yeah, being young, I guess you know how that goes. And even older people too. Some people still today who are 40 don't know what they want to do. What's something you could say to help them find that spark?
I love that question. And I'll tell you, this you probably heard so many people say, but what would you do if you weren't being paid? If you were a millionaire today, what would you still want to do? Because if I became a gazillionaire today and I didn't have to work another day in my life, I would still do some of these things that I'm doing. Right? The other thing basically is if you hear somebody doing something and you're like, oh, that's my idea. And you're like, I should have done that. What would that be? Right? What would you kick yourself for not doing? You're right. If somebody else does it first and you realize that's really something you're passionate about. And then the other thing is, if you can start to look at what activities keep you supercharged. For me, exercise, pushing myself, being outdoors, being in nature. For me, I'm a big nature person. And I'm actually working on an article that's going to be published soon. So
nice.
I can give you the link to that.
Yeah.
I can give you the link to a gift for your audience that I have. It's called Getting Back to Me, which me has double meaning, momentum and energy. How do you find out what it is that sparks your soul, really? So if you can identify those things, put it in your life. Don't get so caught up. I'm glad you asked. I just thought of another thing that happens. That
Share
really
with us, please.
Don't
hold back, please.
When people try to tell you, because this has derailed me in the past. And I tell you honestly, I have to always keep myself in check, because every so often I do this and I start to second guess myself. We each have a brilliance. I have 5 degrees, but that has nothing to do with who I am today. I mean, it does, because I did study, but you can have 0 degrees. You could have not had any education at all, but you still have a genius within you, right? If you know your genius, you know what it is you love doing, because we each have it, and then somebody comes to you and they don't know what it is really you're doing, or maybe they do, but they have a different way of doing it, and they're like, you're doing it wrong. You need to do it this way, and you need to learn this way, and you need to engage people this way, not that way. What are you talking about? Flow? What's flow? I had somebody tell me, well, what's flow? I don't know. I second guessed it, right? Because I talk about the ebb and flow now in my business, but in the past, I second guessed talking about, grit, which is endurance. I second guessed talking about flow, and then I overanalyzed it, because I'm an overanalyzer. I'm an analytical thinker, and at times when you start to think about too many things. So don't get so caught up in the shoulds, coulds, and would'ves that you don't. I kind of like that. Don't get caught up in the shoulds, coulds, and would'ves that you don't.
I like that. You're starting to rhyme now.
But that's the thing that we need to be careful of. Stop second guessing that we are a genius about. That said, going about getting it done is different.
Okay.
You need people to instruct you on that. Keeping accountable, having an accountability coach, somebody that believes in you, though, not somebody that's always trying to make you second guess yourself. You have to have somebody that believes in you. The steps to get there, a team, somebody to support you, thinking positive. Our thoughts and our feelings affect our behaviors, and vice versa. We can try to physically make ourselves do something different that can affect the way we think and feel. So becoming aware of the psychology of us, the psychology of others, not taking everything personal everybody says and does, and just knowing and being convinced and convicted in what it is we want to do enough to where maybe we flex the way we get it out there, but that we don't flex what it is that we're truly passionate about, because otherwise you end up doing something you're good at, but you don't really like it.
Right. Interesting.
Do something you're great at and you love.
Do you have any coaches or follower? Do you follow someone, or do you have any coaches or someone that you idolize? Who's your mentor, would you say?
It's funny because I'm horrible at names, and I go through YouTube videos and I watch different things all the time. And, I did a lot of studying in psychology, and there was a lot of theorists that I think are amazing. But lately, in the past, few months or so, I've been listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
And he's amazing with talking about, because I did a lot of study. My dissertation was on emotional intelligence, and that was an area that I did a lot of study in. And everything he talks about is how I feel and believe in my own philosophy and so forth. So, but sometimes it's really good to listen to things like that and think about it for yourself, right? And there's another gentleman, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's wonderful, and I can't remember his name. Tony Robbins is inspiring. I mean, I think everybody most people that are in our industry would resonate with some of the things he talks about as well. And let me think, but those are the ones those 2 names that popped into my head right now that that I think about, or that I really resonate with. And it's funny because like minds think alike, right? In the sense that I'll hear people talking about the same examples I've been talking about, or they'll say some of the same taglines I've been talking about. And it's not that people are necessarily, oh, I heard that and I'm taking it, although that does happen. But what it is you're in alignment with the same energetic flow.
Right.
Sometimes. And you're so similar in your thought processes that you come up with some of these same analogies, or you'll see something like the 4-minute mile, and it pops in your head like, oh my gosh, because people saw it's possible. And I'm a possibilities person, which is why sometimes I get analytical, because I see all these different options. And then I get frozen with trying to decide which one to take. So again, just understanding that ourselves, and I just lost my train of thought really quick, but no
worries.
But yeah, these are some of the things that when you when you start to get into the process, you're going to learn about yourself. You'll start to connect with what others are doing and saying. Find some like-minded people, connect, lock arms together, and do things that move that industry forward, because your right client will find you, right? And then you'll be able to affect their lives in a positive way. And that's the reinforcement that can make you more energized and excited and be more convicted to have that staying power, that endurance to get you where you want to go, and the legacy you want to leave behind in life.
You know, and I've seen that in my business too, because obviously I'm in real estate, but the energy you give, you will receive that energy back 100%.
You do.
And I think that's just truly such an amazing thing, you know, when it comes to referral business or, you know, past clients, you know, they will call you if you gave great energy. They will return that energy back to you.
Well, they say that people don't leave their jobs, they leave their managers. That's not always the case, but people want to be around others that make them feel good about themselves, right? So if you have positive energy and you help them, you're really listening to them. That's something that in the real estate business, I think, is really important as well. Just like car sales. I mean, if somebody goes in there and says, I'm looking for a reliable car that is going to have good resale value and great crash test rating, but they take a look at you and they see you drive up in a convertible Mustang and you look like a hey fun person, right? And they look at that and they don't listen to what you're saying, and then they go, hey, here, and the person's saying, I brought the statistics in, these are the cars I'm looking for, and then that person turns around and goes, but I have a really fun car you're going to love over here. And that happened to me. That's a personal story. This was years ago when I had my convertible Mustang, and I'm like, yeah.
What color was it?
Red.
Okay.
Red convertible Mustang.
That is asking for attention.
Yeah, I mean, I had a 302 engine, and I had a Cougar, and it was fun days. Too many speeding tickets, but so I was trying to, you know, sell my car and have something reliable for school, and the salesperson did not hear a word I said. He looked at me, he looked at what I drove up in, and he goes, I have a fun car for you. I had a fun car. I love my car. So again, the point is, when people come in and if they're saying, I'm downsizing, even if they say they're downsizing, but then the words they start to use, maybe they don't want to downsize. Maybe they really just want something different.
Yeah.
So you have to read between the lines sometimes and really ask follow-up questions, and we have to avoid assuming we understand what they're going to say. Because haven't you heard people sometimes they'll assuming they know what you're going to say and they finish your sentence, but it's wrong.
You're like, that's not what I was going to say.
Exactly. And if the psychology of people, you know, of listening, of active listening, if a person keeps repeating themselves and you're like, well, why do they keep saying that? I already told them I heard them. It's because you didn't hear what was really at the core of what they were trying to say. You didn't hear what they weren't saying. And that's where the gold is. You have to hear what they're not saying in addition to what they're saying. And when you do that and you repeat it back, that person's going to feel heard by you and understood. And that's how you build clients.
And I feel like that's a common thing with realtors as well. They are not listening to what the client is saying, and they kill their own deals, or, you know, they don't get the client. But totally get where you're going with this, for sure.
Or they brag about themselves. I'm not saying that, you know, this isn't real estate agents, this is people.
Or people and entrepreneurs in general, yeah.
They'll brag about their programs or or who they are so much that the person doesn't feel like they're important. And I can't think of anyone specifically. I just know that I've seen this happen in places you go and you want to hear about how it's going to help you, and all you hear about is this, and this, and you ask a question. You want to be heard with that. I also have a 3 C's of customer service program, you know, where we really talk about that, you know, connection, collaboration. Basically, people, they like to feel like they are on board with somebody who's also excited about what they're doing. So like you said, the excitement, everything.
And that
all comes back to
that comes to energy as well.
It does.
Nice. Well, we're a little short on time, but before we end this a little bit, do you want to mention the programs that you have coming up, your new programs that you are creating?
Yeah. So I have a couple of programs that I run on consistently throughout the year, different times of the year, not the whole year. One of them is the 3 C's of customer service that I talked about, and really understanding all about how do you realize individual differences. I mean, you hear me talking fast right now, and I use my hands a lot, right? That's connected to my style, looking at the disc and so forth, assessment. And then I really help them understand how to build that relationship, building trust and rapport with your client. It's really important. I have another program called Distraction to Action.
Okay.
Where I really bring in a lot of the scientific research I've done with emotional intelligence. Science is at the core of everything I do, but I try to put it in layman's terms in a way that anybody can understand, because that's what I do. I went through the trainings, but I need to make it, it's the cheat sheets, right? You make it short, easy to understand with simple steps people can follow. And then that way they don't have to think about it. It takes the think factor out of it. And then boom, 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 you know what it is you need to do to get back on track, to see things in a different way, and to be able to be productive and efficient in what you do. And then those others are 2 of the ones that I offer a lot. But I also do, I have some new things coming up, and it's all around training for self-development, but out in nature. And we're going to be doing some action-oriented events that I will be sharing with you. And that's what I mentioned earlier. If you want to get in touch with me, I'll give you the contact information. You can put it in the notes section under the video.
Do you want to give everyone your contact too right now?
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead and send me an email if you'd like more information as well to info@endurancebusinessbuilders, that's with an S.com. And then I can go ahead and send some things to you. I'm putting together a podcast. I've got the freebie. You can ask, you could put the free gift in there, and that is the Getting Back to Me, Momentum and Energy, right, in life and business. And I have a lot of, I do a lot of individual coaching and training. I do it also for corporations with large teams of leaders and managers and government contracting. So I do the gamut. But it's all involved around employee engagement, productivity, and just really getting up, getting out, and getting going with what it is you've got in your mind and your heart for that congruence to happen in all areas of your life.
Love it. Love it. Sounds all soothing to the soul.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you, Dr. Elisa Magil.
Thank you.
For joining us today. I think
you,
that
Keith.
was wonderful information. And I think a lot of people, will take this inspiring and hopefully motivate themselves to kind of step out their comfort zone, maybe take risks or get started with their businesses. Yeah. So again, such great information. I'd love to have you again sometime for sure.
Thank you. I'd love that. And I, just really think about living life by design versus default. It's something that we have control over that.
I love that. Love that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful.
Sure,
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for watching. Please log on to our Thursday sales webinars at 9 a.m. We give you more information about the listing agent and how we can make you a top producer. Other than that, you guys have a good day.